I was looking for my water jar. I don't know what I do with that. Oh, yeah, you're right. Hey, welcome. We haven't started yet. I always wait 5 minutes because there are always a few people that straggles in. Cool, well, welcome. Should we start? I want to make sure I'm recording. Check. Okay, good. So, do I have everyone's cards here? If you have these cards. I've never done this before, so it'll be kind of interesting to see. I don't know who you are. Okay. Well, welcome to the Metabolic Anti-Aging Reset Program on Saturday. So welcome. Thanks. So before we begin, I just like to start off with this little story. So there's this professor, and if you've been to my lectures, you probably heard this before, but I always like it as an icebreaker. There's this professor, and he absolutely despises alcohol drinking, like he hates alcohol drinking. And he walks into his classroom, and he has 2 glasses, one glass with water and another glass with vodka, okay, alcohol. And he has 2 worms. So he puts the one worm in with water, and it swims around just fine. Then he grabs the other glass with vodka, and he puts the worm in, and the worm swims around and ends up dying, okay? Then he holds the glass up with the alcohol and the dead worm, and he says, students, what does this mean? And an eager student in the back said, well, if you drink alcohol, you're not going to get worms. Okay? So you can see how there's 2 different viewpoints of what's actually happening. So today, what I hope is you kind of can see my viewpoint on what we'll be talking about, metabolic reset, anti-aging. I've done lots and lots and lots of research on this. I'm always studying, and in like the last 3 weeks, I've been just like tore apart any kind of books I could get, podcasts. So this is like really cool functional medicine stuff. It is being recorded. The beginning part is a little more technical, and then at the beginning we get, or at the end, then we get more in what you can apply to your life and how you can apply this. Okay, so this is me before, and then this is after the techniques I'm going to teach today. So this is a pretty good program, right? So let's just go over some statistics here. I like to go over some stats just to set where we are. So chronic disease in America, is this a problem? Is chronic disease a problem? Okay, now what the research shows is 6 in 10 adults, okay, this is just the general population, I think 18 to 85, have basically 60% have one chronic disease, and the chronic diseases are right here, okay? Now I guarantee with 100% certainty, if I would look at someone from a spinal viewpoint, from a functional medicine viewpoint, from a lab viewpoint, someone that has any one of these diseases here, I'd be able to look at their labs and I would be able to pinpoint this is out, this is out, this is out, this is out, and it never got addressed. And I'm going to show you some labs and how this is. So really what the principles are in anti-aging is this is you, right? You're a person, you're a spirit and a cellular being, right? We all have a spirit. So what we want to do is when we talk about preventing anti-aging, we want to look at a polytherapy approach. So poly means what? Many, right? So the more things that you can apply to your lifestyle, they're going to switch you from sickness and disease to what? Health. Here's a monotherapy approach. You go into the doctor and they do a screening and you have a cholesterol of, I don't know, 210. And what's their solution for that kind of problem? Drugs, right? It's a polytherapy approach. And 210 cholesterol, that whole thing's a joke. Or you go in and you have, maybe you go in and they say you're hypothyroid. So then you put you on what? Levo, some kind of medication, a thyroid problem. That's a monotherapy approach. The approach that I want to take is a polytherapy approach. So the more polys that you can put in your lifestyle, you're going to slow that needle, stop the needle, and even reverse the aging process. Okay, so these are basically the most chronic diseases. 4 in 10 adults have 2 or more chronic diseases. Let's go over some other stats here. So now this here is specifically for people age 65 and older, okay? So 65 or older people, 1 or more chronic conditions, and what percent of the population? 85%. Okay, and when we were talking about these chronic conditions, these are lifestyle-induced conditions. Now, why do you have them? There's a real million reasons why people have chronic diseases, okay? Here's some other statistics right here. So U.S. life expectancy, what? Declines. Okay, again, as a dismal trend not seen since what? World War I. So the things that we're using right now, like the majority of the tools that people are using right now, are not getting results. You look at all the statistics, more heart disease, more cancer, more diabetes, right? Someone was just telling me about her sister has ALS, her sister has Parkinson's disease, has dementia. All these diseases are chronic diseases. With the right coaching, with the right advice, with the right path, you can prevent, stop, and reverse. And that's medically proven without a doubt. Okay, so now this gets me to my next question here. Is I remember when I was probably about 20. I started reading nutrition books when I was 14. So people that don't know my story, at one time I was 80 pounds overweight. I lost 80 pounds, right? So I was big in high school. My first name being Hugh, they called me what? Huge, right? So I lost 80 pounds, went from a 42 size waist down to 32 size waist. Now this is when I was 14, 15 years old. And ever since then, I've always been interested and wanting to know, like, how does the body work? What can we do to make health? Like, how does this all work together? And my dad, he died at 69, right, which is young, on 17 medications every single day of his life. He was 400 pounds, and he did the conventional system. So there's this system over here, the conventional system right here, which is going to give you a drug or surgery. This is, people say, oh, I got Medicare now. Now I can get all the care that I want, right? That's going to, if someone says, that's going to give you drugs or surgery. Okay, that's going to create more of what we have. So we need a different pathway, different solution with different answers. So I remember when I was 20 years old and I had this job of landscaping. It was tough, man. Labor, like I was there at 6 a.m. I'd get home at like 8 p.m. It was tough. And I remember I would be raking and these guys, and I would say, I want to live to be 120 years old, right? I would say that 120 years old. I had no idea about living or any kind of the biology or anything like that. And I'd say, I want to live to 120 years old. And people would look at me and say, what? Dude, you're what? Crazy, right? It's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. You're going to live to 120. Like right now, people are living to 120. Like that is actually occurring. So I like to ask this question. I'll be going through these answers right here. Is how long do you want to live? Like back then, I was saying 120. I'm actually going to postulate that I can live to be 150. Now, in order for me to live to be 150, I have to throw it out there and say it's possible, right? That's actually a possibility for me to live to 150. Now, before, let me give you some examples. Before the 4-minute mile was broken, what did they say? That was impossible. No one can do a 4-minute mile. That's virtually impossible. Then in 1954, this was broken. Now, if you don't run a 4-minute mile, you're like not even competing at this point. So I bring this up. So you want to expand, like if you want to live longer, you have to expand the possibility of you living longer. I remember when I was a kid, my dad would say, if I live 1 year longer than Elvis Presley, that's a good year for me, right? That was his possibility, and he died at 69. Now, if he would have said, I'm going to live to 150, he might have lived a little bit longer, because if you're going to live to 150, you got to do things a little bit different than what he was doing, right? It just changes your thinking process. Let's go back 100 years. If someone said, we're going to travel to the moon in 19 20. What would they say? You're crazy, right? It's not possible. Instant communication, the light bulb or the smartphone. Look what these little smartphones have done. I'm recording right now. This invention right here has been on the planet for what, 15 years. And in 15 years, look at how this has revolutionized planet Earth. So right now, we're in a state of development that is quick. Like 15 years, Amazon has destroyed. Who thought when I was a kid, I went to Sears, Roebuck, and my dad got tools there because it had a lifetime warranty. No one thought Sears, Roebuck was going to go bankrupt, right? They're bankrupt in a matter of 15 years. Why? Because technology changes. The technology of living long is changing every single day, and there's lots and lots of information that I'm going to present some of the cutting information out there that's available. Okay, so let's go over these answers here. So one says, as long as, okay, I like this answer. This is probably my favorite answer. As long as you do, right? So meaning me, like as long as I do. Okay, that's my first answer right there. So if you follow my guidance, you'll live long. I just want to live well. My, something, I can't read the writing, goes to something to 94. Okay, so that's, till you're 401k runs out. Oh, I got you, okay. Okay, so, you know, that brings up a valid point. Like if you lived 120, 150, you got to have some kind of resources. Like the government can't be giving you Social Security checks when you're 150 because there's going to be no government to give you a check, right? I mean, they're going to be bankrupt. Okay, so as long as your 401k is, you should get a defined benefit plan. Then it's like, it's no matter how long you live, it's just there, right? She's got that too. Okay, okay. Here, want to be healthy, healthy, active, walking, talking, and productive. Someone says forever, and then they also says 120. So 120 is like legit. Like, you know, people live right now to be 120. Here's one. I like this one. 90 with my brain. Okay. When I was 20, before I decided what I was going to do, I volunteered in a nursing home for like 2 years. Like, I'd wheel these people down to physical therapy, and they were in there generally primary for 2 reasons. One, their mind goes, right? Or 2, their spine goes. Like they're fused, they can't move, they can't walk, they have arthritis. Those are the 2 things that I found, like when I was there and I reflect at that, people are there for those primary 2 reasons, spine or brain goes. So 100, now, someone says now, I can't read that. Long time, 87, longer than my mother and father and aunts and uncles. 90s, as long as I can and God willing. Okay, 109. Okay, so all of them. Okay, so let's get into this, like what it is. All right, so this is like the simple thing right here. I'm going to go over a lot more in depth as we go through. So know your biomarkers. Like what's a biomarker? A biomarker is like what's inside your body. What's inside your body that you may not know that would give you direction on what you can do to be well. Know your spine. Follow a keto paleo lifestyle. Learn something new every single day. Right? I'm committed to this. I try and learn several things every single day. Okay, that keeps your mind going. Exercise and reduce stress. Vitamin D. Take fish oil. Do regular fasting. Take B-complex supplements and find enjoyment in something that you do. So those are the very basic things. So first thing I want to do is I just want to hit the spine, okay? Because a lot of people neglect their spine, and to be really honest with you, the spine's not very sexy. You know, what's sexy is, oh, this mitochondria, you take this fish oil, you take this cool supplement, that's kind of sexy. The spine is kind of like boring and mundane, and there's not much excitement there, okay? So this is what you want to see when you see your spine, okay? This is the spine right here. This is a neck curve. You see the jaw and neck curve, okay? Then what do you see between here and here? What's the difference between that one and this one? You see the curve. Now what do you see right here? You see this right here. This is, you see all that there? That's degeneration. That's bones that are degenerating. Okay, that's arthritis. Now it's kind of hard to see right here, but you see this woman here, this disc, that's a disc. You see these discs? There's no arthritis there. Can everyone see that? Okay, so we have a nice curve. You want to have the curve. This is your neck between 40 and 45 degrees, and there's no curve here. And this person has severe arthritis. Okay, bone degeneration. If that's occurring in your spine, your nerve is being compressed and damaged, and the life force between your brain and your body is being compressed. Now, check out this. Her age is what? Who's got good eyes? 83. Now this x-ray was taken almost 10 years ago. Okay, so this is one of our patients, Eileen. She's 94 years old. She has 3 boyfriends. She's looking for a 4th. She's going to dancing. She's on no medications, right? She did something different. Okay, she went to a chiropractor like 40 years ago. She's been getting adjusted, and then she's been applying the polytherapy approach. Jack LaLanne, that dude, he was a chiropractor, okay? Now let's look at this person. You don't want to be this person, right? No one wants to be this person. Her age is, what do we got right here, is 65. Okay, so let's just look at that. Who's going to live longer? Right, you just like take just like an x-ray of the spine, you can tell, well, you got problems, right? So here's a 93-year-old, here's a 65-year-old, and there's problems here. This isn't genetic, okay? It's not genetic, it's not bad gene. This is spinal health. So this is a good book right here. So this is where I kind of started thinking about this. It's called Lifespan, Why We Age and Why We Don't, David Sinclair. And in his book, he goes over all the research. The thing of aging is called the information theory of aging. So it's all about information and how you're going to express information to your body. If you want to geek out on some resources here, these are good resources. This guy right here, Bulletproof Coffee. Does anyone know this guy right here? David Asprey. Okay. So I listen to him. I get his books. I consume his products. Bulletproof Coffee, if anyone's gotten Bulletproof Coffee before. This guy right here, David Peter Attia, this guy is a freaking animal when it comes to research. His podcasts are very, very technical, so you may not find interest in that, but this guy is really good. Now, so when I look at people, I think, well, how old do I want to live, right? So this guy right here, David Asprey here, he thinks that he can live to 180 years old, right? So he thinks that's 180. So I listen to his podcast because every new technical piece of information, guess what this guy's doing? He's doing it, right? Something comes up, he's doing it, he's applying it. He's a master at looking at data and information. Okay, so these are good resources. Now, I want to get into cloning because this actually has to do with information. And I never actually understood how cloning worked until I actually read David Sinclair's book right here. And he talks about these animals that were cloned, and they did a whole bunch of different experiments on cloned animals. So I wanted to understand cloning. And why this is important, because cloning has to do with information passed on. Okay, and we can apply this to our life. Now, this debate here, should we clone or should we not clone? I mean, these are like really in-depth conversations and philosophical points of view. I don't want to discuss that. I'm willing to go out and have coffee and discuss that. But what I want to just take away from this information is it's done, so what can we learn from the cloning process? Okay, so this is very, very fascinating. So they cloned this sheep right here, okay, Dolly. Okay, Dolly's a sheep. So they want to make an exact replica of Dolly. So what they do is they take a cell from Dolly. Like you can literally take a cell from your mouth, and that has DNA in it, and you can make a whole new you. Like that technology right now, right today, is available to clone human beings. So what they do is they take a cell from this animal that they want to clone, okay? Then what they do is they pull out the DNA. Okay, the DNA is what makes us. Every cell in your body, no matter if it's a heart cell, a liver cell, a pancreas cell, has the whole information to make you. Okay, this is the first point, okay? All that information is wrapped up in just a cell. Just like that, I got tons of cells with DNA that could make a whole new me. So they take this nucleus with the DNA, okay? Then they take another animal, okay, and a female. This is the female egg, okay? They take out its DNA, okay? So they take out this nucleus of this animal. Everyone with me? Then with this here, the one that they want to clone, they stick that DNA, right, in this sheep's egg. Everyone tracking? Okay? So they're taking the DNA from here, from Dolly, getting rid of this DNA from this animal and sticking it in there. Okay? So now here, men, I have very, very bad news for men on this planet. You are no longer needed. Okay? Sperm is no longer needed. Okay? This is the worst thing that could happen to the men. Okay? So look at this. You see this right here? This is cell what? Fusion by what? Electrical impulse, okay? So they fuse this DNA of this dolly with this egg. They fuse it with an electrical impulse, okay? Then check out this. Another electrical impulse does what? Fertilizes it. Why? Because this cell has all the DNA that you need. It knows how to make another dolly. Okay? So then what they do here is then they start to grow this egg, and then they find a surrogate mom, and they implant it in there. And then this grows a baby, which is dolly. Junior. Right? And dolly is identical to, or junior is identical to what? Dolly, with the exact same DNA. That making sense?
But does that bring all over disease?
It does not, okay? And that's the next thing, okay? So now here, so Ms. Cash has the next question. So then, do these animals have more diseases? And they do not. So that's telling you that if you can preserve the DNA, and they've done it in mouse studies, here's my slide right here, scientists create 581 clones from same mouse.
Wow.
So this is new. This is pretty new stuff. Okay, so they can clone mouse, right? And the mouse is the exact same identical genetic as the one they cloned, 581 times. Okay, so that tells you that that DNA from the clone mouse is living what? It's going on and on and on. It's living for 581 mouse years, whatever that was in human beings. So getting back to David Sinclair is an information theory. So if we can preserve our DNA and our information, we're going to prevent diseases. Okay, because the DNA is what tells us if we have a disease or not. Here's Barbara Streisand. Streisand? Okay, so she cloned her dog. Has anyone heard about this? No. Okay, one back. So she cloned her dog. So this right here, Samantha, right? So they're visiting Samantha's grave, and these are the cloned dogs, Miss Violet and Miss Charlotte. Okay, so if they can clone dogs and mice, they can clone what? Human beings. Now, and this is just for a feel for thought. I don't want to discuss this. Feel for thought. This process takes money. So now you have a society where people have lots of money. So you're going to have the ultra rich cloning themselves, because what are they going to do with 10 million, 100 million? Might as well clone myself, and maybe I can come back in the future. Okay, there's some, just a thought, feel for thought. So this is possible. Okay, cloning, obviously she has the money. Now, this right here, this is very interesting. So this is where we're going to get into your DNA, and you want to do everything you can to make sure your DNA is well. Okay, it's preserved. So we have two mice here. Okay, so these are cloned mice. So they have two different moms, right? Mom and mom. But you can see that they're cloned, right? Because getting back to, I just want to make sure people can understand this theory here. So if you fertilize this egg right here of dolly, you can implant this in anything, right? You can implant this in multiple animals and have the same genetic offspring. It makes sense? Okay? So they've done this study here on these mice. So these mice here are genetically identical. They're clones. And they've come from different moms, okay? But what they did here, you can see how this one is well. Can you see that? Nice black. And you see how this is gray? Can you see that? Okay, so what they did here is the mice got fed the exact same everything. Identically, they're identical in every single way. Food, everything's identical. What they did, I'm not a scientist, but what they did is they came in, and you see this DNA, everyone knows what the DNA is? Okay, the DNA is what tells things what's going to be expressed, right? So what they did is they came in here and they cut just a little simple break right here. This would be like a Ziploc bag. You know how you unzip a Ziploc bag and zip it back up? These are very simple breaks, like in DNA breaks. So then you have a break down here. You see how this is a double strand? It's really bad. Can everyone see that? Okay. So in the study, they did very, very simple DNA breaks, very simple, that every human being can repair. Okay? These are simple ones. They're not complex. They don't take a lot of work. Very simple, just like a Ziploc bag. Now, what they did in these mice here is they caused lots of single-strand breaks. Not big ones that cause genetic problems, just small little breaks. Okay? And what they found is that these mice age super fast. Okay, just a Ziploc bag and unzipping it, DNA breaks. Okay, so what the research shows, if you can cause something in the DNA, you can now take it away, because you understand how aging comes about quicker. Making sense? Okay, and they were. Dr. St. Clair, I listened to a lot of podcasts on this and read his book. It's very clear that they did simple DNA breaks and that caused aging, accelerated aging, and now centered on reversing this process, which can be done. This is just another visualization here of the breaks. This is like the DNA. You can see this is the bad breaks. Okay, this is damage done to the DNA. Just another visual so you can see this. Okay. Okay, so now here I want to get into what happens here, and then after this is the most technical part. Then we get after this, then there's going to be solutions. Okay. So right here, this thing right here, this is like it's a chromosome. That is all that's like will create another person. Okay. Now what happens here is if I would show you this symbol right here, what does this mean? If you're walking down the street, what does this tell you?
Okay, good.
It's okay, or someone's like trying to hitch a ride, right? Okay, or I'm looking for a ride. Okay, so this tells you something, right? If you see some guy walking down the street doing this, that tells you something, right? That communicates something. Hey, I need a ride. There's a communication message, right? Now, what happens when it comes to like your DNA in here, okay, so this would be like your DNA right here. I got some visuals. So the DNA is like strands of rope. Okay, and they wrap around these things called here, these things right here, these blue things which are just called histones. Okay, so your DNA is tightly wrapped around all this stuff right here. Okay, tightly wrapped. Okay, then what happens here is you see this thing right here. This is someone's thumb. Okay, this is a thumb saying, "Hey, I need a ride." Now, in your body, this right here, this thumb might represent, say, "Hey, I'm a heart cell." Or if it's in your liver cell, it might stick it out and say, "Hey, I'm a liver cell," okay, or I'm whatever cell. Now what happens when you have this DNA damage, okay, instead of a thumb sticking out, let's just say a McDonald's sign right here. Okay, everyone sees that symbol and they know it's what? McDonald's, okay. Now let's say I put a McDonald's right here and I put a Pepsi right there. The communication is altered. Does that make sense? It's confused, like your body doesn't know. Are you a liver cell? Are you a heart cell? You know, thumb, this is clear, right? I need a ride. I'm McDonald's. I'm Pepsi. It's very clear reading. But when you have damage to the DNA, what happens, which is epigenetic factors, which just means that it's just being expressed, it would be like McDonald's and Pepsi. There's confusion. So now if you have confusion in your cells, you have a healthy or sick cell. You have a sick cell. Sick. This is where it comes down to the DNA problems and what happens. So you can see here how your DNA is kind of wrapped up in these little things right here. Okay, you see these things right here? These histones are wrapped up tight. So when you have damage and the string isn't wrapped up tight, there's many genes that are now exposed, right? Tight compaction. Everyone see that? Like these genes are tightly, maybe there's a gene right in here that says I'm a liver cell. Okay, it's right there. Okay, good example. This is a heart. Okay, this right here is a heart. And way down here, there's this little thing that sticks out there that is a liver cell. Okay, but because this is tightly compacted, it's not expressed. Now you have damage on your DNA. This opens up. What's expressed right there? What cell's being expressed? That's the liver. But it's a heart cell. So then that starts to replicate, and that causes confusion. The replication of the cells are confused when you have this damage. Okay, this is the information theory. Okay, so this is all happening in your nucleus. Now what happens here is, so the DNA is right in there, is in your nucleus, right? Biology 101. Now does anyone remember what the mitochondria are? Mitochondria? They're like the power cells. They're the engines in your cell. These mitochondria right here produce energy. Every cell in your body, you have literally 500 to 2,000 mitochondria each cell. And those mitochondria only last 1 to 2 days. So there's a huge turnover. And guess what? This mitochondria, in the mitochondria, has its own DNA. So you have DNA here in your cell, and then you have DNA in your mitochondria. So if your mitochondria get messed up and they don't produce energy, the whole cell is going to start to what? Malfunction. You're going to get disease processes. Whatever those diseases are that are going to be expressed is because the information isn't being relayed crisp and clear, and then you have problems. Now, one of the things we are going to be talking about here soon is the ketogenic diet, right? And what's all about the ketogenic diet? The ketogenic diet completely reverses this damage here and repairs the damage. There's a lot of things that can be done to reverse this information. So when we talk about, a lot of people are, we talk about brain or any kind of conditions. This is the brain. This is a nerve cell. Okay, you see that? And then you see these little things right in here? Okay, those are all mitochondria. This is one cell. The DNA is right in here. Okay, and then we have all these mitochondria that produce energy and use signaling to make sure that cell knows that it is a nerve cell. So when you have all this damage, the DNA is messed up, poor signaling in the nucleus and in the mitochondria, and then you start to get disease processes. That's how they start. Okay, so here's another really cool experiment, okay? What they did, again, clone mice. So the only thing that they did, so you have 2 moms, right, clones growing in there, babies growing in there. They did this while they were pregnant. They fed one pregnant mouse normal like mice food, whatever that is. I don't know what it is. Okay. Then on the other feed, they fed them mouse food with methylated B12s. Write this down. Methylated B12s. So they gave these mice methylated B12s, which affected the DNA of the mice. This is one of the very first experiments on mice that showed diet prevented cancer. The way it prevented it is it repaired the DNA. Okay, you can Google this. It's all over Google. Okay. These 2 mice are genetically identical, the same. See, this gets down to the 𝗏. That's why I had to show you 𝗏 so you can understand the way they do these things. Okay. The mother of this mouse received normal mouse diet. And these mouse here, they're called 𝗏𝗲 mouse, are obese and prone to cancer and are diabetic. The mother of this mouse received diet supplemented with choline, folic acid, betaine, and B12, which gives the DNA the nutrients it needs to function. So this is the DNA. You see this DNA right here? These like things right here, these are the little thumbs up. Okay, this is the McDonald's, this is the Pepsi, this is the guy looking for a ride. It gets on these things right here on the DNA and it tells it, okay, you're a heart cell, be a heart cell. Okay, you're a liver cell, be a liver cell. Okay, so there's lots of things that you can do to prevent DNA damage from your body. They're pretty much like endless that you can do. You just need to start with a simple program and move forward. So this is where I've changed some of I started taking a new supplement because of this research. So the way I approach my life, I read the research. If it makes sense, I do it. I apply it. Like I don't wait. Like I'm not going to wait for a double-blind clinical study. Like if there's studies out there, like I'm rolling with it because it makes sense to me. And that's what I need to do to live to 150. So you can see this DNA damage right here. Can everyone see that? See that break right there? That's a simple break. Now, this right here, you might want to write this down. This NADA+, it's a nutrient that your body does not make. So it's just like like some bread. You just don't have a piece of bread. You have to put in all the ingredients to make bread. Okay? But this NAD+ comes in damaged DNA, and it does what to the damaged DNA? It does what? It's repaired. Okay? There's lots of research on this. David Sinclair has a whole book on it. Lots of research on this. NAD+ repairs broken DNA. Now, getting back to those mouse studies here, mice, mouse, let's go back to this. Okay, this study right here. They've done lots and lots of breaks on this mouse's DNA. Now, if you have a pool of NADH or NAD that's this big, but you have a lot of breaks, what happens to your pool? Shrinks. You don't have enough. Okay, you don't have enough to keep up with demand. So then you have diseases, whatever diseases that is occurring in your body. Okay. So this right here, this is the NAD declines 50% between what ages? 40 and 60. In our society, when do most chronic diseases appear? Between 40 and 60. There's lots of things happening. This isn't like the golden ticket. This is one thing I'm applying to my life because I know there's research on it and it makes sense to me. And my body cannot make NAD. So this is a supplement right now that I'm taking. It has the precursors, right? Just like making the bread. It has all the bread right there. All the ingredients are there to make it in highly absorbable form so that you can take it. There's two on the market. 𝗟𝗲𝗹 right here, which I'm taking, and then 𝗟𝗲𝗀𝗀𝗃, which is, I haven't taken this, but this is on the market too. We don't sell these here. You have to buy directly from them. They don't have any wholesale. You have to go directly to them. Now here, they've done actually research studies on 120 healthy adults aged between 60 and 80, and what they've proven is by taking these supplements, these are NAD levels increased by what percent? 40%. Okay, so that's enough for me to apply it to my life. It makes sense to me. I'm going to do it. Okay, I want to be on the cutting edge of technology. Okay, now this is kind of, this is some geeky stuff here. So what I'm going to kind of go over here, let me just go back to this DNA. Okay, you see this mitochondria? Okay, energy is produced here. Okay, this is where all your energy comes from. Okay, so if people have fibromyalgia, I'm just going to give some examples. If people have fibromyalgia and their muscles are always sore, they have poor mitochondria function because your muscles aren't getting enough energy to actually move and get out toxins in your body. People that have cardiovascular disease, they have mitochondria dysfunction. People that have Alzheimer's disease, they have mitochondria dysfunction. People that have Parkinson's disease, they have Alzheimer's or they have mitochondria dysfunction. There's so much research on mitochondria and signaling, and what I feel to be true and the research shows is the DNA right here in the mitochondria, they're just kind of flopping around. They're not protected. Right? In the nucleus, you have all these DNA that are tightly wrapped around here. Okay, tightly wrapped around. Not in the mitochondria, they're just like floating around. Very easy to be damaged. Okay? Okay, so that was a study there. Now, okay, not to scare anybody, but this here is happening in the mitochondria. This is how you produce energy. And I only want to show this just to get you an understanding of this right here. What's that right there? NAD. What's this right here? NAD. It has NAD in it, precursor. NAD, 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 NAD. Your whole energy, metabolism, and cycle needs what? NAD. And this is in the mitochondria, right? Now, if you have damaged mitochondria, how well do you think this energy cycle is going to spin? Not very good. Okay? All right, so this right here, just right here, this is NAD. These are the precursors that make NAD. So you can't actually take an NAD supplement and it be absorbed into your cells. That doesn't work. You have to take the precursors, which are these. I just want to show you that just so you see it, because most of these supplements here are NR and NMN. They have some kind of that kind of thing in it. Okay, so how can we increase your NADH? A lot of things. We can do exercise, okay? So the exercise that you want to kind of do would be high intensity exercises. It doesn't have to be long. It has to be high intensity for short duration. You want to get your heart rate really up and then come down. Because what happens as things get, as our cells here, what we need to do is when you do high intensity exercises, if you have weak mitochondria, okay, envision this heart cell. I'm a heart cell. I have 2,000 mitochondria in my heart right now. I don't exercise, I don't do anything. A lot of those mitochondria are kind of like weaklings. They're weak. They haven't been stressed. right? So this is the key component of high intensity. When you do high intensity exercises, you stress your whole body. And stress is actually good in short periods of time. You stress your body, and guess what happens to the weak little mitochondria? They do what? They die off. Okay, they can't handle the stress. So they die off, and your body absorbs the nutrients and recycles it. So it's very efficient to do that, to exercise high intensity. Now, fasting and ketogenics do the exact same thing. So right now, if you do high intensity exercise and ketogenic diets, you're going to have better mitochondrial function. You're going to have better function overall. Diet, I'll be getting more into that, which is a ketogenic diet, and then NAD boosters, which I just kind of went over. Okay, so let's go over fasting. How many people have been to some of my workshops before, just so I can understand? Okay, so all the stuff I just talked about, all the damage on the DNA and all that stuff, fasting and decreasing your insulin levels will repair DNA. It gets rid of the weak mitochondria and strengthens your DNA and gets your receptors much more receptive to all the hormones in your body. Okay, so I want to go over some basic principles. Let me just pull this up real quick. Okay, so when you eat food, we have three sources of food, right? We have carbohydrates, we have protein, and then we have fat. Those are the three sources of food. Now, see here, can everyone read that? That's called blood insulin levels, right? Okay, and then down here, this is time. So you can see carbohydrates, what does it do with your insulin? It does what? It spikes. Everyone sees that. Okay, I'm a visual, so my stuff is visual. Okay, then we have protein, and it still does what? Spikes it, not as much as this. Okay, then we have fats, which does what to your insulin levels? Very minimal, hardly anything. Okay. Now, when it comes to the carbohydrates, there's many different carbohydrates. Broccoli is a carbohydrate. So broccoli, let me rephrase it. So let me do a comparison. There'd be broccoli, and then there is, let's say, white rice. They're both carbs. So white rice breaks down quicker into glucose and has what we call a high glycemic index. So you eat rice, cup of rice, that breaks down and your glucose goes what? Super high, and then your insulin levels just follow. They go hand in hand. Okay? They're both carbs. Here's rice, and then we have broccoli. So you eat rice, glucose levels go what? Way up. Okay? And then what goes up? Insulin. Okay, that's a hormone. Insulin is a hormone. Okay? Insulin is a pro-growth hormone. Growth. People that have diabetes and cancer and Alzheimer's disease, I've never seen a patient come to me and do labs if they didn't have a problem, they didn't have high glucose or high insulin levels. It's just, I've not seen it as of today. Now, if you eat broccoli, which is all carbs, because it has all that fiber in there, like it doesn't spike your insulin levels. Okay, so there's safe carbs, and then there's carbs I would stay away with. Okay, so here, so let's say we're going to eat rice, white rice. Okay, you have white rice is broken down into glucose, right? Then your insulin, your pancreas sees that and produces insulin. The insulin goes to the cell and opens this door. Everyone sees that door, right? And then it goes in there. Okay. So what happens here? Let's say I'm going to do just a picture of broccoli right here. I'm just going to use broccoli. So we just ate broccoli. So broccoli has a low glycemic index. So you don't produce a lot of glucose, and therefore you don't produce a lot of insulin. Make sense? Okay, you don't produce a lot when it's low glycemic index. So if you eat rice, what happens to your insulin levels? It goes what? Spikes. Okay? So you have a lot more insulin running around your body, and your insulin here is hitting all these receptors on this cell right here. And your body's like, dang, there's so much insulin and glucose around here. I can't believe that there's this much. And then it shuts down, and then your glucose and insulin start to spike up. So normal glucose and insulin levels, functional levels, are very, very critical to make sure your cells are getting the right nutrients and not being basically bombarded with like breaks in the DNA, okay? So here's what happens when someone has high insulin and high glucose levels. All these here, this causes inflammation, and all these diseases grow in a body that's inflamed, okay? So at the end, if people want here, I have some diabetes things here, or glucose controls. If people want to prick their finger and see what their insulin or glucose levels is, you should do that. This is a good indicator. Like if you're concerned about your health, if you have a chronic disease, buy this. These are cheap. Like these strips here, it cost you like 10 cents. I'll take this thing 3 times a day just to check my glucose levels before and after I eat. This will give me a measure, okay? So I took it right before I came out here, and it was like 101. A little higher than I'd like it to be, but it was 101. This is a monitor that you can check to see where you're at, what's happening. Okay, so here's with fasting. I want to get into fasting here, and there's multiple different types of fast that you can do. So this is what I try and do. This is me personally. Now, I recommend different fastings for people that have different diseases, okay? So what I do is I get up in the morning and I eat my, or drink my bulletproof coffee. If you don't know what that is, you want to Google that, bulletproof coffee, and you want to do that recipe. Basically, it's a certain fat, bulletproof, it's called brain octane with Kerry cold butter in there, and I put some heavy whip in there, which is all fat. Okay, so what I'm trying to go after here is this right here, my breakfast, which is what I consider to be breakfast, is all fat. Okay, now this fat is very critical to decrease your inflammation, and all your cell membranes and your DNA need this fat for repair. So I'll have my bulletproof coffee in the morning. That's the only thing I'll have until noon. And this took me some time to get my head wrapped over it. This thing of eat 6 small meals a day, okay, that is the worst thing anyone can ever do, is eat 6 small meals a day. Okay, that is horrible because, I'll have a slide on it, every meal that you eat, what does that do to your glucose and insulin levels? It goes what? It goes up. Okay, so if you eat small 6 meals a day, how the recommendation was lose weight, eat 6 small meals a day. Well, no one lost weight because people are eating, 6 times a day, even small, and it's affecting their insulin and glucose levels, and you can't lose weight, and your cells don't have a chance to be in a fasting state. Fasting state is critical. Fasting state gets rid of all the junk in your body because your body has to be more efficient. It has to be more efficient with the systems that it has because it knows it's not getting bathed in glucose, okay? So I'll have my bulletproof coffee. I will not eat until noon. Now, there's no absolutes, right? Sometimes I break down. If I'm really hungry, I break down. But 95% of the time, I try and do this. Then I go and I have lunch and I have a salad. And I just cake on the olive oil, okay? So it's all good, healthy fats with like spinach, carrots, all that stuff, okay? I put some protein on there. That's what I have. Then after that, I'll have a coffee. Okay, like right after, when I eat lunch, I'll have a coffee. That's basically what I eat for breakfast and then lunch. And then for dinner, I try and really eat clean. I'll come home and I'll have an avocado, okay? I'll have like a small avocado, or, it just varies. So I take an avocado, I put it on the plate, douse it with olive oil, okay? I put sea salt on it, I put sunflower seeds on it, and then I might put some Parmesan cheese on it. That's what I have for dinner. That would be a dinner plan. Now for me, that's all, okay? So that's all I eat the whole day pretty much. So I'm very simple and I don't need variety in food. Some people need a lot of variety in foods. You can go out and you can search on different ketogenic diets and foods that you can eat. Now, when I look at that, I don't feel like I eat a lot, okay? I don't feel like I eat a lot, and I feel,
Doesn't sound like
yeah,
it.
well, okay, so what I think here when we talk about me, I'm always conscious about my weight because I lost 80 pounds, okay? So I feel there's people that the needle when it comes to fat, like any calorie they see goes right to what? Fat, okay? There's some people like Dr. Scott, he could hoard food all day long, and he's going to come in with his 30-size waist. That's how his genetics are, right? So like me, I know I need to be very, very conscious about every little morsel that I put in my mouth. I need to be fasting. I need to be hungry, okay? And then I need to do this certain exercise to maintain my weight. Hey, I got the good look straw, but I got the short straw when it comes to being fat, okay? So that's why I got to take the pros and cons on that, okay? So this is what happens. So I'm trying to work with my genetics, and then the exercise I do, I lift weights, and I do high intensity exercises. So I'll go up for a minute, really hard, and then I'll come back down. And you only have to do that, you know, I do it for like 15 minutes. I might go up 5 minutes, and then I go lift weights. So you're just kind of working with this plan to get your DNA moving. Now here's what happens when you start to fast, okay? You naturally remove bad things from your cells, okay? Body always eats, can everyone see that? Bad cells first. Okay, if you're in a fasting state, it's craving nutrients, right? So your body's just smart. It's gonna make a survey. What's weak? What needs to be eaten up? Where can I get calories from? This is where it purifies you so everything becomes stronger. Healing old injuries. I'll be talking about this in a little bit. Ketones, which is just basically fats. Okay, you have fats, and how they're used for energy is just called ketones in your body. Ketones burn fat and are used for energy. I'm talking too much. Ketones heal the brain, gut, and turn off what? Bad genes, okay? When you are fasting, it slows down your gut and decreases inflammation. If you're eating food 6 times a day, and if you're sensitive to some kind of food, you're always going to be in a state of chronic inflammation, okay? Your cells become more sensitive to hormones and insulin, fixes the gut barrier, influences genetic expression, turns off bad genes, and powers up good genes. Only the well survive. That's how your body works when it comes to the fasting approach. All right, so here's some labs I take, or I've taken on some patients here. So you can measure fasting insulin. So when I say know your biomarkers, like what's happening in your body, like there's testing that can be done where you know the insides, like how are you functioning, okay? So insulin, fasting insulin, you want that to be 5 or less. That's a healthy range. Every person I've ever taken and checked in lab, I've checked thousands of labs, if they have any kind of disease in their body, they have a high glucose level, they have a high insulin level, they have a high A1C, poor vitamin D status. You can just go, I just know what's going to happen. Now it's just a matter of like how high are the levels, how bad are they going to be. So this is when we started, which was at 23, should be 5, and you can see here, got it down to whatever it is right here, 4.1. Here's another level, 15.4. This, every dot here, as I checked, it went up. Okay, then we did some modification, then it crashed. It went from 16.8 to what? 5.8. Okay, so these are things, know your biomarkers. What's happening in your body? Know your spine. So again, this is visuals. I like these visuals. So this would be the standard recommendation in society right now. Okay, it is eat 6 small meals per day. So here, this is increased insulin right here, and this is decreased insulin or a fasting state. Our bodies are optimal when we're in a what state of insulin? Decreased, as low as possible. So what happens is when you eat 6 small meals a day, what's happening to your insulin levels? They are always what? High. They're always spiking. They're always high. So then when you go to bed, like, you get these little spikes right there. Okay, here's another one. I like this right here. This is the graph of insulin. You sleep, breakfast, snack, lunch, coffee. You can see how the whole day your cells are bathing in what? Insulin. Insulin insults the cell. It insults the DNA of the nucleus. It insults the DNA of the mitochondria. The information theory, that's not right. It can't read it. It's like taking a copy of a copy of a copy. The 1,000th copy of the copy is going to be very blurry. This is what's happening in your body over a period of time. Okay, now here's another, okay, so this would be, so I'm just showing you there's different forms of how often you can fast and how often you should fast, and you need to kind of just like figure it out. I tried to do a 24-hour fast. That was very, very hard for me to do, a 24-hour fast. Not eat anything, food, just water. I would always have my bulletproof coffee in the morning. It always allowed me to do that, okay?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I'm already doing the keto. What's your recommendation for like how many days a week should you be fasting?
That's a good question. It's all individual on what your needs are. You can come and ask me one-on-one at the end, but those are all legitimate like questions, like what do you need to do, right? And how often and what works best. So, okay, this is another fast. This is a 16-hour fast, and then you allow yourself to eat an 8-hour window, okay? So that's another fast. Here's another fasting. This is here, you eat, this would be like what I'm doing right now, okay? So you have lunch, right? So this is when you eat lunch, and then you see the blood sugar right here, this red one? Okay, you see how this goes up, and you see how insulin lingers behind? Can everyone see that? Okay, so glucose goes up, and then it drops down, but your insulin stays what? It stays high. Okay, that level, it stays high. This is where insulin causes damage, because high insulin causes problems. Now, maybe going to your question, maybe you have a problem where your insulin is spiking for a long period of time. So you need to do a 24-hour fast. You need to do a 36-hour fast. I just had a patient came in. She's been working with me for a while. She has diabetes and all that stuff. We took the numbers, and they could be improved. So I said, what you need to try and do is do a 36-hour fast 3 times a week. Okay? And people do that because you're in such poor health, like you want to do something else. You need to start the cycle. Sometimes you got to kick it. You got to kick the horse to get up, but once it's woken, then you can kind of go back on some more normal stuff. Okay, here's another fast. Okay, so this is 3 meals, 1, 2, 3. No snacking. Just start simple. Start with 3 meals, no snacking. Just cut off your snacking. If this is overwhelming, 3 meals a day and no snacking. Do something simple like that. Then you're fasting, fasting, fasting. For me, like I feel way, way better when I'm fasting. Like I allow myself 1 cheat meal or maybe 2 cheat meals a week, okay? So we went out to 𝗟𝗲𝗹, which is like a local bar, right, in Rosemount, and I had, like usually I have their patty melt. And I'll have some patty melt, I'll have some fries, and I had some coleslaw. And my gut is always extended. I feel horrible, and it takes me like 24 hours to recover from the damn meal. But I'm like willing to do it like 1 time a week because I like the whole atmosphere of it. I like the way it tastes in my mouth. I like eating crappy food. I like everything about it, right? So I'm not saying I'm sitting here, I'm like all white, I have white gloves, I do everything pure. That's not the way I run my life. Right? I do 90%, 95% like pure, and the rest, you know, we're all human beings, right? So I enjoy some things like that. Okay, so here's, so this would be, I would say I'm more like on this. So this is an 8-hour fast with 2 meals. I don't consider the bulletproof coffee actually be a meal because it's all fat. It doesn't increase your insulin levels, okay? So this is what I do. I have lunch and then I have dinner. So I'm on this window right here, okay? Now, a really good book is a resource that I showed you in the beginning called the Obesity Code. Dr. Fung, F-U-N-G, he's written a couple great books. He goes over all the studies on all this insulin stuff, which is a really good book. Now, for hardcore people, getting back to what do I need? I don't know what you need because I don't know what's going on with your body, right? Some people, if you're diabetic and you have heart disease and you have cancer and you have dementia and all this stuff, you need to be on the fast track, right? You need to do just eat 1 time. Okay? Or maybe your weight is plateaued and you can't get over this plateau. Maybe you need to do a ketogenic diet and only eat 1 time a day for 24 hours. So there's things that you need to do to modify to change things, but this cleans up your metabolism. Okay? And when people have high insulin levels, cancer grows in a body that has high insulin levels. Okay, let's get on to the ketogenic. I like to call it, what I try and follow is a keto paleo. That's the way I would define what I follow, is a keto paleo lifestyle diet. So there's extremes in every camp, right? Every camp has their extremists. So a pure keto, someone that would be extreme, would not ever touch broccoli because that has carbs. They would just eat purely fat the entire day. That's not my stance on it. I don't want to live a lifestyle like that. I don't think it's even really viable for patients to follow a lifestyle like that. But a keto paleo lifestyle is very, very doable, and it's just a matter of getting into the swing of it. It's actually pretty simple. Like, it's a pretty simple lifestyle. Okay, so here, this is a really good graph. So remember, this is the mitochondria. Everyone remember that? So here, the mitochondria is what produces energy, right? Is ATP, that's energy. Okay, now if you eat fats, if you consume fats, bulletproof coffee, you have the olive oil salad doused with olive oil, then you eat, or the salad doused with olive oil and avocado, you're going to be burning, ketone stands for what? Fats, right? You're going to be burning fats. So we all want to be as efficient as possible, efficient when it comes to our energy levels. So to go from ketones, fats, to energy, ATP, takes how many steps? 3. If you eat pizza, you eat potatoes, you eat rice, carbohydrate-based, glucose takes how many steps for ATP? How many is that? 11. Which is more of a dirtier fuel source? Fats or glucose? Glucose. Anytime there's more steps involved, it's a dirtier fat. If it's a dirtier fat, that's going to cause more damage done to your cells, damage done to your cell nucleus, damage done to your mitochondria. That making sense? So, like, when people are out there in this world of what the hell do I do, right? You go to Dr. Google. Let me Google Dr. Google. What does Dr. Google say about this? You're going to be confused because there's literally thousands and thousands of articles of research. Okay, this is why we develop these workshops. That's why I'm here. Like, I'm a resource. Like, I'm here to help people and direct people in the right way. People get better here with the right mentoring, and this is what you need to do: A, B, C, D. Okay, these are the resources that you need to go to. These are the resources that follow this philosophy here. That's just the way we're in the information age. Okay, so ketones are very, very efficient. This is another interesting graph. Ketones, clean energy versus a glucose, 45 times more free radical damage in your body. There's a resource. Okay, so you look at these diets here. You go, like, I have patients. Yeah, I went to the diabetes coach, and she told me to eat a bunch of carbs. And that's like common. Like, yeah, I had diabetes, and I went to this coaching, and they told me to eat more sugars. Yeah, that's the truth. So here, this is one of the best graphs that I've gotten. This will be online. You know, you can get this stuff, but you can just Google keto paleo pyramid. So this would be more of the lifestyle that I kind of live in. I would say I'm a keto paleo, more leaning towards like vegetable side of keto. Okay, so it's not like I'm. Some people that are hardcore ketos, they'll get up and they'll eat like 3 tablespoons of butter. They'll have bacon. They'll have eggs. Like, that's not really like my style of a ketogenic diet. My style is this, where you can see lots of vegetables right here, a lot of the oils. I try and eat a lot of these things right here. And then I'll eat some proteins, but I'm not like heavy on the proteins. And basically, I've given up all fruits. I don't eat any fruits. Very rarely will I eat a fruit. Very rarely. Wow. Because it's all sugar. I might have a berry. I can't even remember the last time. No, I take that back. I had a few apples here in the last couple of months because, you know, fall, and then you get the damn caramel. You know, you buy the big caramel and you scoop it up there. So, I mean, you know, I've had some of those. I've had a few apples and I've had a few bananas in the last couple of months. But generally, I don't eat fruits because they're all sugars. So I like this visually right here. So this is a good visual on what you can actually eat. Once you get in the lifestyle and know what you need to do, it's not very hard to maintain it. And in my opinion, it's very, very simple. Here's just another graph right here, the keto diet pyramid. This one is more based in, you know, fruits and vegetables, or vegetables and high fats and things like this. So I'm not the keto, like, okay, eat all this protein, eat tons of fats. That's not like where I'm at. I'm more like the vegetable kind of type. Okay, there's another good visual right here. So all this stuff really is on the internet. You just kind of figure out where to go with it and what you need to do. Super healthy foods right here. Sardines, my dad used to eat these things. Anyone eat sardines? Okay, my dad used to love those things. I tried, I'm reading this stuff, I'm like, where can I get like fats and proteins? And I tried sardines, I just couldn't muster it. But some people might love it, And this is like work good for you, right? Almond butter, coconut oil, olives. There's lots of good healthy choices out there to make decisions. Here's just another food pyramid. I do want to kind of go over a couple mistakes that people need when we talk about keto. Is the very first thing here I just want to handle is this one right here. No, not right here, is too much protein, okay? Now, what happens here, let me just kind of go back. Sometimes you got to be conscious about your protein sources and how much protein you're eating. Now, this comes down to like a genetic thing right here. This is protein, right? Some people, and I feel like I'm one of them, eat protein, so carbohydrates go to sugar. Carbohydrate, sugar, okay? Protein can be broken down to amino acids, but protein can also go to sugar, okay? So this pathway, some people are very efficient in this pathway. These people that have, and I feel I'm one of them, will eat protein and it automatically goes to sugar, okay? Fats, guess what? Fats never go towards sugar, never, never, never. So this comes down to like individual custom tailored like programs for people, like what's your body type? What do you need? Some people will say, I'm eating all this protein and it's not working, or oh, I'm eating all this protein and I'm gaining weight, because this pathway is they're diverting these calories to actually sugar, okay? Okay, I want to finish up on one thing here. I just threw this in today or this morning just because I think it's interesting, and we talked about biomarkers. Okay, so I'm going to go over a case, all right? So just so you can relate to when I say biomarkers, like what does that mean? Like what are biomarkers and how do you judge like what's actually happening in your body? So this is a patient of mine that just started care like this week. He's actually from New York. A lot of my functional medicine now, I'm doing this like over the world actually. I'm helping a doctor in Afghanistan, a couple of medical doctors. I'm treating people that have been damaged with antibiotics. So fluoroquinolone toxicity, you're familiar with that, Paula, right? So the fluoroquinolone, it's an antibiotic that causes severe damage in people. And I kind of have this niche-y thing where people seek me out for help. So this fella here had Lyme disease. I can't remember the details, like 8 years ago or something like that. And he was treated with Lyme. He was treated with 𝗪𝗪𝗀, which is fluoroquinolone, which is an antibiotic that specifically damages and goes after the DNA of the bacteria. Okay, old school, like what's an old school antibiotic, Paula? What's old school? Penicillin. Okay, that went over the cell membrane. Okay, these new superbugs go after the DNA of the bacteria, the DNA and the mitochondria. Okay, so if it goes after the DNA of the bug, it goes after the DNA of what? Humans. This is why there's a whole class of these people that have been completely destroyed on this medication, including this fellow. So he had Lyme's disease, and he was given 51 pills of this medication called 𝗪𝗪𝗀, which is in the fluoroquinolone brand. Really bad medications. So he went down to, he lives in New York, he went down to Florida and got some fancy fluoroquinolone treatment. He was there for 3 months. He got IV injections, ozone therapy, all this stuff. That didn't work, and now he's doing some stem cell therapy. The doctors charged him $8,000 just to take out stem cells wherever they are, plus injections. And now he finds me on my door, okay, just last week, because all those therapies aren't working. So the first thing I do when people come to me online, I'm like, do you have any labs? All these people have labs. Everyone that comes to me with this fluoroquinolone toxicity, they all have labs. They all have this many labs, okay? So this is his labs. And I said, okay, well, no, this is the guy that he's doing, the stem cell therapy guy took these labs. Okay, so he just charged him $8,000 out of his pocket, then whatever the injections cost, billed insurance. He took these labs. I said, Jason, well, what did this guy say about your labs? I'm going to blow this up right here. This part right here is kind of interesting. They have all the bad ones marked right there. He said, well, I have a bad kidney. Okay, oh, interesting. And I've seen these labs, okay? So he said, you have a bad kidney. Interesting. So this right here, this is a kidney marker, and he actually does have a kidney problem. He actually, stage 4 kidney failure. There's 4 stages. 4 is the least One's the worst, someone's on dialysis. Okay? Look at how many reds there are. Now the blue means it's not that bad, red means it's really bad. So this guy who's doing stem cell therapy, he went down to Florida before and got 3 months of super expensive care, comes up with these labs here, and the guy says, you have a poor kidney. That was it. So then I do my analysis on it, and the guy's like, dude, this is crazy, so let's go over this. This is fasting. His glucose is 153. Fasting glucose should be 85. Right now, he has fluoroquinolone toxicity. His mitochondria is messed up. He has shooting pain in his legs, like neuropathy, like can't walk, really bad. Some people have gotten so bad they've taken 2 capsules and they're in a wheelchair. They can't. The stuff that I've heard from this medication, people on the phone, is crazy. Okay, so here, his glucose is 153. So right now, I know that his cells are being bathed with what? Glucose. Nobody's going to heal being bathed in glucose. It just does not happen, okay? His creatinine, this is a marker for kidney problems. If your kidney's sluggish, you can't get rid of toxins. This is one marker that shows creatinine is building up. Toxins are building up in your body. You can't eliminate it because the kidney can't filter it out. If it can't filter out creatinine, it probably can't filter out a bunch of other bad things that are going on in his body, okay? Right down here, this homocysteine right here, this marker here is a surrogate marker for DNA replication, meaning this: if you have high homocysteine, your DNA is poor. So this here is a B12 problem. So what's going on with that? He is a homocysteine, never mention it. People that have high homocysteine have a higher incidence of cancer, diabetes, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease. This is a bad marker. This is a biomarker everyone should know. Is yours high? If it is, then you got to handle it. This was never addressed, okay? Homocysteine of 17. Triglycerides, 200. Triglycerides should be less than 100. If triglycerides are more than 100, now in lab range is 150. Functional is less than 100. If your triglycerides are over 100, that tells you you're eating too many carbohydrates. So this is a marker. So right now I know this guy's diet isn't very well, okay? Then we come down here, and his insulin is what? What is that? 38. Like, I've rarely ever seen an insulin of 38. No, 38. This is massively high. So what's happening? He's had all this fancy equipment, all this fancy tests, and none of the basic 101 function stuff wasn't done. Like, do I think I'm going to be able to help this guy? Yeah, I'm going to be able to help this guy because he's doing everything not right, not appropriate. Okay? So these are the biomarkers. So kind of like, you know, you got to figure out what's happening. I know this is hard to see, but this is in your white blood cell count. If you see monocytes, eosinophils, basophils, that's the white blood cell count. Okay? All 3 of these here, this is 11, 12, this is 12. You want this less than 9. So if it's over 9, that can indicate there's gut involvement. These are biomarkers that are extrapolated from blood work you're normal. You have a kidney problem, okay? So he's got that going on. All the stuff, no one even mentioned any of this stuff here. What do we have here? Okay, I went over that. This right here, they check cortisol. Okay, here. So DHEA, which is a hormone, can everyone see that's 196? Lab range is 78 to 495. So it'd be nice to get that to 350. So DHEA, DHEA is the most common hormone in everyone's body. DHEA sits up here and it makes testosterone. Guess what happened? Do you think this guy's testosterone is in the tank? It makes testosterone. Ladies, it makes progesterone. It makes estrogen. Or DHEA makes all these hormones. So that these hormones are very critical for cell function, cell signaling. When women go through menopause, especially like drastic menopause, what happens to the brain? It's like you start to forget. You don't know where things are at because these hormones, especially in women, estrogen and progesterone, they're so high all the time, they support your brain. Okay? So this guy's DHEA is non-optimal, but it was never addressed. His cortisol here, you can see his cortisol is 10. Range here is 8 to 22, so he has poor adrenal function, poor cortisol function. All these things need to be looked at to see the biomarkers on actually what's actually happening. His testosterone, you can't see it there. I'll just tell you, it is 386 right here is testosterone. Normal is 175 to 781. So he's low in testosterone as well. But you can see how that is, you look at the biomarkers, you give the guy specific nutrients, you change his diet, you get him on a ketogenic diet, you start doing therapies that are working with the laws of Mother Nature, you work with him to figure out what's working and what's not. People just get better. Okay? Okay, one last slide, then we're going to end it. And then if people have any questions, you can come up and ask me. So if anyone wants any help here, this is real simple. I don't know where you're at, if you're a patient, if you're not a patient, if you're a guest, whatever, you can come in, you can sit down, we can talk. It's $47. It's just you and us having a conversation. What are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? What's missing? What's going on? Really simple, low key. If you want some help, I tell you what needs to be done, what should be done. So that's really simple. That's available. You want to see Mara or Jen? Wave your hand, ladies. Wave your hand. Okay, and give yourself a round of applause. You made it through the workshop. If anyone, a couple things. If you have questions, individual questions, come up and ask me one-on-one. And then if anyone wants to check out their glucose levels here, it's pretty simple. You can do that. So then you kind of get an idea of your glucose levels. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Doc.
I just got someone. Do you have one?
Well, I had one because I had gestational diabetes.
Oh.
But then everything's expired when I pulled it all out again.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, this, I just looked for they get the money on these slides here.
Yeah, those were $1 a piece when I had gestational diabetes.
Yeah, you can get these for like, I could send you the link. These are like 10 cents or something like that. Ridiculous.
Okay, so they've gone down quite a bit.
Wait,
since
yeah,
I was
dollar a
pregnant.
slide is like ridiculous.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get keto strips now that are $1.
The
Real quick,
strips?
did you order Keeping Health? People are wanting.
I didn't know. No, I didn't know what to order. No one. You want to look at your blue?
I do, yeah. I'd like to try it.
Free glucose checks up here, ladies and gentlemen. Free glucose checks. Come up and get stuck.
It smells like running down memory lane.
You just want to prick yourself. And now let me grab a trash can. Did you eat?
I ate breakfast.
What did you have?
I had eggs and bacon.
Yeah.
And a couple strawberries. I haven't done it this way before. This is
Just put it in the side and give yourself pain.
all the way.
Well, just, I don't have the little, yeah, just, you gotta be a little brave. You want me to do it?
Okay, I did it.
You did? Okay. Squeeze the blood out.
How did you poke yourself? Just gotta stick it in there.
Not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you want it 85 for
80,
fasting?
yeah. I mean,
And
I'd
is
say
that
that's
after
good.
1 hour or 2 hours?
Oh, no, this would be like an 8-hour fast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What do you want it after you've had a meal?
It depends on what you're eating. I mean, there's different, like,
So mine, they said they wanted it under 140 after 2 hours of eating when I had diabetes.
I would say you want it way less than that. I
Yeah,
mean,
okay.
I try and keep mine like at 100, 110 regardless of what I eat.
Okay,
Like I'll come back from lunch and I'll push it and be 110.
okay.
So I try and eliminate the spikes. If you're getting 140, you have glucose problems.
Well, yeah, I had
Especially if you're eating like
gestational diabetes.
especially if you're eating like bacon and eggs and it goes to 140.
It's funny when I had the diabetes, they were saying that they didn't want ketones when you were pregnant.
Yeah, I know that's the kind of. I haven't done any research on that though, but people starved way back 1,000 years ago. Mommies were starving all the time. You know,
So keep it under 100?
110, 100, yeah.
Okay.
I'd
And
monitor it,
the
yeah.
One touch? Do you buy all that online?
Yep, Amazon.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Yeah, if you have my email me and I can send you the link.
Okay.
I'll be able to find it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're welcome.
I don't like poking.
Just stick it in a little bit and then,
Oh, you want to get it done? I'll do it for you.
okay. Do it kind of like on the side of the
Yeah.
pot.
Yeah.
I had to do this so many times.
Yeah. I poked myself today. You'll survive.
It's not bad.
Okay, just don't look.
Don't do too far to the side because that's where the nerves are.
maybe. I just had to check.
Could you grab us the paper towel or the Kleenex there? Up on the 82. It's not bad. Yeah. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm really watching it because I was pre-diabetic not too long ago, and then I started the keto.
Oh, yeah. That will. You lost weight?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
That and I've been exercising.
yeah.
So
Congratulations.
I'm like, yeah, thank you. I'm like,
I hope this secured some maybe questions you had.
yeah, I'm doing the fasting, but I'm not like fully strict on keto again.
Oh.
I only did it for a month. And,
Oh, it's just a matter of just getting in the lifestyle. Maybe getting more food selections if you have. Yeah, just take
Yeah.
it with you.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Hi. Oh, yeah. Okay. Cool.
I think my mom had a question.
Yeah.
So homocysteine?
Cysteine. Homocysteine.
What is it, what kind of marker is that for? Like you were saying, like,
There's
one's a kidney marker, another one's a...
homocysteine is an inflammatory marker. It's a brain.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait. Did I put that in? Yeah. And there's lots of research on. I mean, it's just a biomarker. You don't want it high. Every disease grows in the body has high homocysteine. 87. That's pretty good. Do you want to get it too? Okay.
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
What's it supposed to be?
Well, it depends if you're in a fasting state or what you ate or
Well, I
you know.
had breakfast and I had one of those bars that you guys had out.
Oh, yeah. We'll see because I think those have a high glycemic index.
I just had that pumpkin bar. That's what she was saying too.
God, like Mara brought that in today. I'm like,
Yeah, I know.
what the hell? Who brought these things in?
I was like, are these
coming out?
Friendly bars.
Wait, I'm not sure if I.
Otherwise it would have been, yeah, they're
Oh, there it comes.
free.
Hang on. I might need to.
So it'll probably be higher than.
101.
Well, they just
So it
had
could-
that bar though.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it
I mean,
would've-
this is like such a this it's like this here is best when you repeat it like 3 times a day.
Oh,
When it
okay.
comes to like, are you insulin resistant? Do you have high insulin? Like this is not the test for that. That's like totally like a quick like scan.
Yeah, but 100 isn't so bad.
No, 100's not so bad. No, I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, good. I just had mine done, so
Oh, okay.
do that. But I had a question. So I feel like my protein problem is the same as yours.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many grams you eat per day of
I don't. That's totally not my wheelhouse. Like I don't.
Okay.
I just like
Because
these
I'm
people.
just like, what?
Maybe you asked me that last time you were in here. I don't. That's like too complex for me. Micronutrients. It's like I'm a simple
Yeah.
guy. It's just like
Yep. So
I put like a little protein on my
that
salad.
just is
and-
like dang, like maybe I just need to cut back on the amount of protein because I'm
Or-
going kind of by the old Weight Watchers, like 3 ounces with this and meal and like 4 ounces with the evening meal kind of thing. But maybe that's too much. Or maybe there's.
I mean,
I
you
don't
could. Are you doing fasting?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
You might want to
So
try.
I start at noon. I eat it from noon to 7.
Oh, okay.
Kind of thing, you know.
I mean, you could try and do like a 24-hour fast, eat 1 time a day, messing up with
Yeah.
the technique. Incorporate. I don't know if you can do high intensity exercise.
That's what I'm just starting now. I'm working
Okay.
with a trainer 2 days a
Oh,
week.
yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah.
so I think I'm on the right track. I
Yeah.
just need. I think I need the tweaking part, and I think I do need to get the more fats in too. So
Mm-hmm.
Do you do bulletproof MCT
I don't drink
oil?
coffee. Do you think I could do that with like a tea?
I think you can do it with a tea. I think you do it
Find
with
a
a
tea
tea.
that you like. I think it would work. I really do. Because
Some of the things with
taste.
Yeah, some things with the coffee is it kind of emulsifies a little bit with the coffee molecules. Where I think tea it would kind of like because it's oil, it kind of floats up on the top. So there's some emulsifies a little bit better, I think, in the coffee.
Yeah.
But I mean, breakfast could just be I mean, if you're 24-hour fast already, so or you're
I'm a
fasting.
little worried about this. I had one of those pumpkin bars. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I think you'll be fine.
You'll be fine. Let's see. Mine was borderline too. Mine was like 103
Fasting.
fasting. So that was high.
Hi.
A little bit.
It should be below 100.
Well, what did you have for breakfast?
Well, I had my bulletproof
Oh, and
coffee,
then you
but
had
then I ate that bar.
You could have, might have.
And I
I mean,
did
these
have
are
ice cream last night.
Yeah, I mean, I like these things. These things are cheap, and these cost like 10
Where
cents.
do you get 'em?
It's
Like
Amazon.
Walmart's? Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon. Like it's cheap to take
And
this
you can
thing.
do it yourself?
Yeah, just prick it. And so what happened is like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, I was getting up in the morning. My shit was like 118 morning. And I'm like, damn.
You know what? I'm gonna Sam's. I bet is high.
Yeah. So then that's
bet
like when I really
he has
started.
berries all the time. Bananas every day. A banana.
Yeah,
Every day a banana.
I got rid of all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I just want to tell you, I enjoyed this.
Well, good. I thought maybe it was a little too technical on the
Well, it
DNA
was
stuff.
kind of technical, but that's okay.
Some people are sleeping and shit. And, I feel like, as being a teacher, you see people like this.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
like, shit, what were people said? But you're more seasoned. You've been to some of my stuff, so you know some of the concepts. Some of these people are like, but I don't feel I could do it justice without explaining the genetic component of it.
Well, I thought that mouse thing was great. I thought that was really good how you showed that. But anyway, my pain right here, it's gone away.
Cool. Yeah.
But you know what I think? I am so tight. Like I cannot sit crisscross applesauce anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like this leg, if I do it, can go down to the floor much easier, not quite, than this one. This is really tight. So I'm working on those things, exercise kind of things. I don't know if it's related. I don't know. I have no idea.
You could do some yoga. I've always wanted to try hot yoga.
And the high intensity, I knew about that from you guys a long time ago. I bought a DVD from you guys.
Oh, yeah.
That
Yeah, that was the
yeah,
yeah,
and I
Max
still have-
T3 or something.
Yes.
She doesn't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's,
And now here's what I'm really embarrassed about. So that lab work that I still haven't done,
Yeah.
I'm gonna go do it.
Oh,
They
you.
accept it?
They closed. So we gotta rewrite you some new ones. You have to go up in France Avenue now. Well, I should say they closed. The company I'm using is a co-op, and I don't know, something happened with their negotiations. They didn't feel like they were getting the right pricing, so they dropped Quest. And they're using LabCorp now, which is off of France Avenue.
Well, that's okay, but I paid like $99, and now
Yeah, just bring it. I don't know what I'd have
I'll
to
bring it in
relook
and we'll figure
look
it
at
out.
what you- yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, you've been seeing that for like a year ago now, Carlos. So.
Yeah, I know.
I'll bring it in.
I will.
I'll say that next time too.
I'm now 65, right?
I'll say that next time too.
No, I'm